you doing? So this guy you're looking at right now, his name is James C. Lovette. He is a sovereign citizen, although he doesn't. He claims to deny it. Um, and he puts out these little videos about little tutorial videos about how to become a sovereign citizen. So this is one of these videos, and he's talking about a world passport. I thought this was a pretty interesting idea. Let's have a listen here.
You think that's air you're breathing now, Neo?
Oh yeah, and then he does this really weird Matrix Morpheus thing.
Do you think your physical body has anything to do with your digital body in this digital realm? What's up, guys? It's your boy, the Bad Wolf. All right, so just a little Morpheus intro, because remember, we're living in the Matrix.
Right, the Matrix.
This particular video is going to be the USA passport versus the world passport. Now, this has come up a couple times. People have asked me, should I get this? Can I get this? Is it legal? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it a scam? Whatever else. All right, so we're going to kind of break this down. First of all, let's get the white wolf out of the room here. Of course, the USA passport is legit. There's two different citizenship statuses on there that cover either the corporation U.S. citizens and all the rest of the American nationals out there. Okay, so zoom, easy peasy. That's good to go. Good 99.99% of anywhere in the world, except for some of our enemies. So screw them. No treaty with you. But treaty with the U.S. and all the rest of our brothers and nations out there. Here's a hug from the Bad Wolf and his nation to all of you guys.
That's weird. That's just cringy.
Now, the world passport. Okay, let's take a look. All right, so in searching on the world, some of you guys may not know what the world passport is, and don't worry about that. We're going to cover that. But essentially, it's a fantasy travel document sold by the World Service Authority, a non-profit organization founded by Gary Davis in 1954. Okay? So, now keep in mind, his company is called the World Service Authority. According to the World Service...
Are you watching? All right, because something's about to happen, I think.
Service Authority website, some world passports have reportedly been accepted on a case-by-case basis by over 180 countries, i.e., or an example, they have been stamped with a national visa or entry or exit stamp, and according to the World Service Authority, some countries in the past accorded the document legal recognition. So what's really going on here, people, from the Bad Wolf, is that this guy on his own formed a non-profit and is issuing his own passports. Though they look somewhat legit and many countries have accepted them, they're not accepted worldwide. That does not mean they're a scam, but it's also no different than if somebody were to issue their own passports, well, on their own, or for their own.
So he's saying that they're, at the same time he's saying that they're legitimate and not legitimate simultaneously. That doesn't make any sense, James. For crying out loud.
Nation, or if the Wolf Nation, the Levitica Nation did it, or the...
He apparently has his own nation. I think he just put a sign on his lawn. That's what I imagine when I think of this guy having his own nation. I have heard of people who have seceded from the United States. I have heard of that. I actually saw a documentary that mentioned that. I think I can't think of it at the moment. But these are people that own quite a substantial piece of land, and they want to secede from the country. So there's paperwork and what have you, and you all can do that, and you can probably research it and all this stuff. But it has been done. But I don't think that Mr. Lovett is one of those people, considering it looks like he is um, filming from his basement.
Whoever, Northern Cali Girl or Nation, or whoever else, Floridians or whatever else, you can create your own documents, okay? But does that mean you can leave the United States of America with it, or the U.S.? Yeah, you can. Will you get back in? Mm, will the other nation take you, like Canada or Mexico? Mm, okay. You better.
Yes, I suppose it is technically possible. I mean, there's nothing physically impeding you when if you wanted to make your own, that's perfectly fine. You can certainly leave the country with them because you're probably going to be leaving with your U.S. passport. But I mean, if you're going to travel, if all you're going to be traveling on is this made up piece of paper, um, you're really you're really you really are trusting in that the receiving country is going to accept you. Like,
Have some backup documents, all right? Because if you don't, you might get caught somewhere in between the mix.
backup documents being a legitimate passport. Your United States government issued passport is is a is the backup documents that he's talking about.
At least the good thing is typically they're just going to deport you back to your country that is your origin. So for some of you, the U.S., and for the rest of us, the United States of America. All right.
I what? So some U.S. citizens go to the U.S. and some of them go to the USA. What?
So if we go over here to Wikipedia,
Because that is a legitimate research tool.
essentially they talk about when he got started, being issued. They do put their own type of WSA codes on here, or MRZ codes, things that can be scanned by the system. Okay, and if you go here, it says notable acceptances. So they've actually posted the places that will take that passport. So it's not like it's fake. So can somebody out there create their own passport? Yes, but if you
I can't help. I'm making faces, and I can't help it because what he's saying is just so wrong. He starts the video off by saying it's a fantasy document, and then goes on to say that some places actually accept it. Is it fantasy or legit, James? I don't understand. You're giving me mixed signals.
really want, and this is just me saying this, so education purposes only, entertainment, if you will. Are you not entertained? You better make sure that places like the Department of State know what you're doing so that they can put their stamp of approval on it.
They don't care. You they don't care that you printed out your own passport and want them to stamp it. They won't, and they just don't care.
Because they have a little bit deeper pockets, a little bit more muscle, and they got that mozzie, okay? Um,
Yes. The government is owned by a bunch of Italians. Of course, there are people that would actually believe that, but I don't. That's just ridiculous. I mean, just one more conspiracy theory, which is where this guy is living in his own fantasy world.
Sometimes you have to work with the big boy on the block if you want to do that thing. You know what I'm saying? So, just looking at it here, Burkina Faso, Ecuador, Mauritania, which Mauritania, that's the home of the Atlanteans, or used to be. Uh,
Yet another conspiracy theory, Atlantis.
Tanzania, Tonga, Zambia, These are all places that apparently have taken these places, these passports from people going to these places, rather, excuse me. And apparently, if you go to their main website, you can find a list of the other 180 countries. So, there you have it. It is in fact legit. It is just not world recognized. But that's also to say, like my nation here, I'm not world recognized, but it's legit. And there are other micronations around the world who have recognized me. So in fact, you're good there, but that doesn't mean everybody has to play ball with you.
So he's just happy the fact that he's gotten some kind of recognition from other sovereign citizens in other parts of the world. Apparently, it sounds like there's a network. They communicate with each other. It's just, I don't know. Do you need to take that, James? We'll wait.
All right. So, it also lists here notable rejections. All right. So, Gary Davis, by 1975, Gary Davis, the creator of this, had already been detained 20 times for his attempt to cross into international borders with the world passports. Because the world passport is not issued by a competent, they say, government authority, and thus does not meet the definition of a passport. Okay?
Right. So you can't just print up your own passport and think that another country is going to honor it.
That's not how it works. That's not how any of this works.
It doesn't work like that.
Apparently, you got hemmed up in St. Petersburg. Well, I don't even know why you want to go to Russia in the first place, but
it's a very beautiful city.
If you do, definitely don't want to go with no half-stepping passport. Looks like Sweden, Latvia, Belarus.
It's Belarus, James.
Whatever else. And it says the United States Department of State's official position on the world passport is that it is a booklet produced by a private organism or organization upon payment of a fee and not a passport.
Basically, it's a fancy way of saying that the passport is not legitimate. It is not recognized by the government as a whole. He's reading just because.
Okay, and so here it says that a man who had felony convictions for all kind of bad stuff tried to use one of these to get in other countries because he's like, oh, I can just pay you to have one and do whatever I want to do, and this guy is a major bad guy here. Yeah, that's why they only issue them to people who are of upstanding, quality from recognized governments, and not just anybody can make theirs. That's why they all got together and said, hey, we won't let our scumbags go to your country, and you don't let your scumbags come to our country, okay? Make sure you know who you're giving it to. That's why they have these papers and these checks, and make sure your documents are good and all your information crosses. It's not so much that it is control, but they want to make sure that, you're not on a plane with somebody who's got something that's going to make you go, they're trying to minimize that. So keep that in mind, guys.
Yeah, that would be very bad.
It says here that also refugees and people who are stateless, who gave up all their citizenships to do their own thing, have been trying to use them. Now remember, guys, you can create your own identification, so that's not the problem with this.
It is the problem with this. You can't just create your own identification. It has to be ID. I could just print out an identification card on my printer and think that the police officers or the government agency at the Canada Service Center is going to accept my ID as legitimate, because they're not. If they, what am I going to say to, like, no, this is fine. I printed it out. It's fine. No, it doesn't work like that. You can't just print out your own ID. because it doesn't have the force of the government that printed it.
It's that each country has its own set of rules, laws, and regulations. And when you go to another country, you guys might think it's just crossing over a line or shipping on somebody's property. But if you don't own it, that person's the king, queen, potentate, or whatever else, and they get to decide who can come in, who can't. So when the major countries all get together and say, we are only going to issue identified documents, authentic documents, and whatever else, there's a reason for those things, which you as well can do with your property if you own it. Okay? So
No, you can't. Just because you own your property, just because you own the piece of land that your house is sitting on, does not make you able to print your own ID. You can't. It doesn't work like that. The ID has to be printed by a legitimate government body.
So that's really it in a nutshell, guys. So should you take anybody else's passports? I'm going to have to say no. You can use them for identification. That's fine. There's no law against that. There's not.
No, I just said you can't print your own identification. I just said it. I'm not a lawyer, but even I know that.
Not even a law against creating passports, but the law that the rules that these countries have is that they're not going to accept passports from a non-competent authorized issuing government. Okay, now that doesn't mean that you can't formulate yourself to be one. So, like I said, the devil's in the details. But in general, just making one is not going to allow you to just go out willy-nilly and use this anywhere. Some places will take them because they recognize you have a sovereign ability to, even though I hate the word.
I think these places that take them, either the border services agent at the border when you're crossing, whether it be at the airport or driving or whatever, I think when faced with this, either he just doesn't care, or he legitimately thinks that they're real. But I can't see an educated person thinking that they're real. But anyway.
Not a sovereign citizen. I'm just saying the ability, meaning you can do what you want. These other countries are like, hey, you can do whatever you want. You as a person can do what you want. And they will take them. But that was yesterday. It may not be today, and it may not be tomorrow. Or it might be tomorrow.
I don't know. I don't know what he's trying to do, man. Like, I smoke weed, and this guy is just confusing the hell out of me. It's like he smoked a bowl before he started. But anyway, the recording glitches after this, so I'm sorry. It just he keeps talking.
But they don't have to.
But the picture won't move. So I think there was a glitch when I was converting it or when I was downloading the video. So I'm sorry about that, but it doesn't last for it. The video is almost over anyway, and he just goes on to talk more about getting or use where you can use it, who accepts it, things like that. Nothing terribly interesting, really. And I mean, James, you really need to get your hands on some video editing software and watch some YouTube videos. Seriously, man, it's 2021, for crying out loud. So anyway, I did some research. So I just punched into Google World Passport, and this is the website it came back with. The World Passport. Everyone has the right to leave any country, including one's own, and to return to one's country. Absolutely. Like when the pandemic hit, everybody was recalling their citizens, right? Even those citizens that perhaps may have lost their passports or didn't have time to get their passports. So they, of course, had to prove nationality before one was issued. But like in the US and Canada, we operate kind of the same. they would have issued emergency passports for those travelers when the pandemic hit, because everybody was recalling their citizens. So that's one example of when a government will issue an emergency passport. And that is why you do have the right to return to your own country. They can't stop you if you can prove citizenship. Then they can't stop you from coming back into the country. So anyway, so this goes on to say the World Passport is a 30-page machine-readable travel document with alphanumerical code line scanned in passport photo and ghost security paper with embedded logo, the data page laminated in 7 languages: English, French, Spanish, Russian, Arabic, Chinese, and Esperanto. Each passport is numbered, and each page contains a World Citizen logo and as background. 2 pages are reserved for affiliate identifications, diplomatic corps, organizations, firms, etc. There are 19 visa pages. Inside, in the inside back cover, there is space for home address, next of kin, doctor, employer, driver's license number, national passport, ID number. The cover is blue with gold lettering. So you can see by what we're looking at here, that this is not a government fabricated website. This is a website that some guy made in his basement, obviously. But this is the issuing body of the World Passport, the World Service Organization or Association, World Service Association, the WSA. So yeah, so I clicked on apply, and it brought me to this website, or this page on the website. Carrying a world passport enables you to identify yourself as an individual with innate and unalienable rights. It is a powerful tool to claim your birthrights as a world citizen. In addition to being a symbol of our connection to humanity and the earth, the passport provides a tangible way to educate others about our human rights as citizens of the world. If anybody is familiar with the way sovereign citizens think, can easily recognize that this was written by a sovereign citizen. Our individual, innate, and unalienable rights, like, yeah, of course it's sovereign citizen. So that is who is issuing this world passport. It is not a government agency. It is just some guy in his basement. And he charges for it. A 10-year, a 5-year, a 3-year, a 15-year donor passport, US $500, $500 in US currency, or none. I'm not sure what other, like, why would you don't want the passport, or you don't want one that's good for, I don't know, less than 3 years? I don't get it. Other documents that they will issue. You have a World Identity Card, World Birth Card, World Birth Certificate, World Citizens Card and Certificate, International Exit Visa, International Residence Permit. International Residence Permit, $30. World Political Asylum Card, $30. World Marriage Certificate, $75. It says to apply, there's an asterisk beside the World Residence Permit here. It says to apply for the International Residence Permit, the World Political Asylum Card, or the World Marriage Certificate, you must also apply for the World Citizens Card and Certificate. So you have to pay the $40 fee for this one here. And then that's on top of like the $30 for the international residency card, or the $75 for the world marriage permit. Yeah. Standard 4 months to process the document. 5 to 10 business days, $150 service fee. Wow, there's prices attached to everything. So yeah, this is clearly a scam. I'm not going to click next because I don't want to get in any more involved with this as I have to. But I did a little research into the World Service Agency, or the WSA, World Service Authority. Sorry, it's World Service Authority, WSA, World Service Authority. That says the World Passport is a fantasy travel document sold by the World Service Authority, a non-profit organization founded by Gary Davis in 1954. I'd be very interested to know what where all those fees go. But right, so it is a fantasy travel document. Well, ooh, this is new. Camouflage passport is a document designed to look like a real document, issued in the name of a non-existent country or entity. Well, it may be sold with matching documents such as international driver's license, club membership card, insurance documents, or similar. I'm not going to click that out, but I just want to show this because, I mean, there's nothing legitimate about this. It's a fantasy document. It makes it illegal to, or not illegal, I guess. I don't know. I guess maybe you can buy it. I mean, there's clearly a fee associated to it. It's not issued. It's sold to you. So yeah, where it's been rejected and accepted, I think, is strictly on a case-by-case basis, and is probably I have reasonable assurance. I'm about like 95% sure that those agents who accepted the world passport as acceptable travel documents were probably just like, I don't care. I'm off in like 2 minutes. My relief is walking towards me. Like, yeah, I really don't see it being a legitimate form of documentation. But anyway, that's James C. Lovette, and he's earned his own playlist. He has a lot of material to go through, and I will be talking about it, and we'll be talking about him and his whole view of the world. Okay. All right. Thanks a lot, guys.